I don't know. What do y'all think? Because it went from.
What does that say, JB? Just mean Jordan's buck?
No, I'm trying to be like Jimmy. He writes his initials on his cup. So.
JB, JP.
Yeah. I just added another little squiggly.
It is true, because if you do that, then it's JP.
Yeah.
Gosh, that'd be scary to know that y'all would drink out of the same cup.
That's not the same cup. I'm just trying to be like him.
You're doing good.
Delta. Get him. Go get him.
Okay, well, tell them what happened yesterday. Might as well get right into the guts of it.
Shot me a buck.
Nope, it's not what I meant. You can tell a story better than that. Come on.
Oh. So me and Lake, we're going to go to Ducks and Bucks. And
No, it's Bucks and Ducks.
Ducks and Bucks.
B comes before D in the alphabet.
Surf and turf.
Bucks and Ducks.
Surf and turf.
Surf and turf. Land before time. Oh. So we were going to go up there, and you and Brad brought home the camera cards.
I almost forgot to give them to you out of my
I know.
pocket.
We were sitting there just eating
really
lunch,
did.
and you handed them to me. So we were going through them at lunch, and pulled up Oak Tree Road, and there's 2 good bucks in there the day before yesterday afternoon. And we ain't got to stand there for a south wind.
The only thing in there is that ground blind.
Yeah, and it's set up for north. So, man, like, or
Well, when
you brought it up.
When
Like,
you said there's Rocker's son, I thought you was just joking. I didn't even look at the pictures.
No.
I was eating a sandwich. And when you said that, I was like, oh, he's just trying to do that to pull Brad's leg. I really had no idea you saw him in there.
Which is very, I mean, to your credit, that's not an uncommon thing for him to do.
because he's never
That's
been
what
on
we
that
all do.
side.
No, he's never come that far. But it makes sense why he's done that, because look at the numbers of deer y'all saw and the numbers of does. And all them deer are moving to that food plot on the outside because I feel like they've eaten secret patch out.
They
Yeah.
have.
And there's no more brassicas in there until it gets cold and they start eating the
Yeah.
turnips.
Yeah.
That could have been why he was moving around very easily,
Yeah, no doubt. And them acorns are falling over there, too.
which we didn't know, but we know now.
Didn't have a clue. We climbed up a tree and been sitting there like 20 minutes, and there comes deer to an acorn tree over
Well,
there.
the thing is, like, sometimes I think, I guess the Lord just blesses you, because like the tree we picked out, all we were looking for is somewhere that we could get up, the wind be good, and see the food plot. Okay, I mean, we knew the acorn trees were there, but we had no clue they were dropping. You know, and we ended up being like 65 yards.
Yeah, and wide open shots.
Yeah.
You know.
There's no doubt the Lord blessed y'all on that, but also knowing the history of that area right there and where those deer tend to come from and knowing where to go because you had climbers. I mean, I asked Jordan when we looked at the footage last night where that buck came out. Jordan shot a doe last year, Reba, and she ran right out that trail.
Right. Well, and I told Jordan when we were sitting there when we started seeing those deer come. I don't think we hunted a lot last year, but I know 2 years ago, me and Brad and I spent a lot of time in that area. And there's a thicket line right there, and there's deer. You always see them working that edge. Always. And then, you know, they were working that edge and they were coming out because the acorns were dropping and then going to the food plot. But always that same edge.
Yep.
That's a pretty cool deal there. So we climb up a tree. Wind's good.
Y'all were both in the same tree together?
He climbed up before
That's
me.
old school right there. That's the way we used to do it years ago.
I mean, in a perfect world, we'd find 2 trees, 3 feet or a yard apart or 2 yards apart, but it's hard to do it on this place because it's been, select cut so much. Your timber is very selective on what you can find to climb up in.
Yeah, so. Most of the trees we got are pecan trees that are
pecans or
12 foot around.
Yeah.
And then disclaimer, like, I'm not going to claim to be the world's best in a climbing stand. I did a lot when I was a kid, but then not until, I guess, last year, whenever we started doing it, I hadn't climbed all that much. So I put the bottom half of my climber stand too tight to the tree. It was like it wasn't bad too tight, but it was 1 notch too tight. And this thing had vines and poison ivy limbs coming off everywhere. So every time I tried to go up, I could look down there, and Jordan was looking up at me going,
just sounded like a deer making a rub. That's what Lake was
It
doing.
didn't hurt anything.
It did not
obviously,
affect anything.
But he was giving me some nasty looks.
And yesterday, honestly, we hardly had any wind. I mean,
it was quiet.
calm yesterday.
Well, we had to cut 2 limbs out of the tree, and both of them.
Yeah. It really, I mean, because I mean there was limbs. I mean, you couldn't get around them. I mean, there were limbs that big around, and if we wouldn't have cut them, if we the first
5 foot off the ground.
yeah, we'd have been 6 feet off the ground. Like that's not going to work. So we'd had to do it. But I mean, and that happened. Like you said, what's abnormal is everyone knows on cottonmouth, when you have a light wind like we had yesterday, usually it is all over the place. It's going to swirl and switch. And yesterday it stayed out of the south for. I think it switched maybe one time.
Yeah,
but
I checked it one time. It was out of the north, but other than that, it was pretty steady.
Yeah.
But we didn't stay in the stand but an hour and a half.
We didn't spook, and that's with all those deer. Because the evening before, we were hunting out of a climber's on a different food plot, kind of same situation. Wind wasn't right, so we climbed up a tree, and we had does all around us. One ended up seeing us and blowing at us, and Jordan made the comment. He said, "When there's that many mature does around, it's just a matter of time for one of them starts acting."
Absolutely.
And we didn't spook a single deer yesterday until he pulled that trigger.
Well, I mean, the reason, in my opinion, why those deer didn't see us or smell us or anything like that was because all those young bucks in there making noise and pushing them around. It kept them from being their own worst enemy. Like them old does, they usually are their worst enemy because they're so paranoid.
Yeah.
Well, I've noticed what those old does do, and I know y'all probably noticed this too, is if they see you or they get an idea that something's there or catch a little bit of movement,
They're not going to give up till they find you.
well, the first thing they do is circle downwind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they come smell you, and that's, I mean, a deer's going to trust his nose or her nose 100% of the time. Ears and eyes, you could get away with something, but that nose.
That, and if it's a younger deer or even a younger doe, sometimes if they even snap their head up at you, sometimes if you're still enough, they'll just kind of go, oh, okay. But the mature ones, it's like once they look, like they're going to keep.
And you know what, this time of the year too, especially when it comes to a deer blowing, like the other afternoon when you shot that doe for blowing at y'all, and we all have that same mentality, if you blow, you go around here. How many times you been sitting in the woods and hear a deer blow totally upwind of you?
Oh, yeah.
And they do that, especially now with the rut starting. You get little bucks chasing them, they'll blow at each other and stuff like that. So if you just sit tight, man, don't worry about it. Just keep hunting.
Yeah, the other afternoon we were
Tell them about that, yeah.
Man, we had deer blowing upwind, side wind, downwind, the other side. They were blowing everywhere, and the other deer in the food plot were just.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, and this was when we talked. Me and Jordan was like, I wonder if they can tell the difference because
I feel like they can.
The one time when she saw us and blew, all the deer in the food plot went, huh? It was like it was a completely different sound. Sounded the same to me.
The intensity of the way they do it and how they do it, and then you get that one doe that just never gives up.
Yeah.
Bottom line, you got to shoot her.
Yeah.
Well, I did.
Kind of like last year with Reba.
Yeah.
In the same place you shot the big deer.
Same
tonight.
situation.
Reba blew, cleared the field, and then she made the mistake of coming back and wanting to figure out what you were.
Yeah. So anyways, let's get back. We chased a rabbit hole there for a while, which was worth chasing, but pick up from how many at the most, how many young bucks were out in that food plot?
Like at one time, probably
15?
8, 10, something like that. We saw about 15 young bucks. They were
all in the food plot.
The oldest one was 3 years old, but 7 or 8 of them or 10 of them were all 2-year-olds. You know, which means we're gonna have a good crop of bucks here in about 3 years, 2 or 3 years. But we were sitting there watching those bucks. It was 2 3-year-olds out there, and they were finna square off. They were all bristled up at each other doing a mean
I saw that
walk.
footage last night when I was going through everything, doing my notes.
And I happened to look back towards the acorn tree like I'd been doing every 20, 30 seconds, just checking it. And there's another deer standing there. Well, it was real cloudy yesterday, so I really couldn't tell, what it was. So I pulled my binoculars up, and all I could get out.
No, I listened to it last night. You said it all in one word. You went, late, right, acorn tree, rocker son.
Jordan, truckers, he's there.
As soon as I saw him, I was like, holy smokes, here he is.
Yeah. It's one of the, you've done it before, we all have. You're sitting there and you're watching, and last night was a prime example. All we're seeing is, like I said, the oldest buck we'd seen was 3-year-old. And all of a sudden, you couldn't even really tell what that buck had on its head yet, but you just looked over there and you went, that's a bigger deer.
Yeah, and
just the way he was.
Good. I mean, we got trail pictures of him from summer all the way up until day before
and last
yesterday.
year too, me and Wilbur.
And the encounters that everybody had with him.
Me and Wilbur had that deer at 35 yards for 30 minutes last year with a bow.
Brad and I had him at 30 yards. 30 somewhere between 30 and 40.
Yeah, but y'all didn't have
he
no
had
tags.
Brad had just shot a 10-point. And it was, we just had to look at him and film him.
Me and Wilbur had him in there in the snow. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And Doe took him off. that doe to save that deer's life that day.
He sure gained a lot of mass last year.
He
versus
gained a
last
lot
year
of
this
weight
year.
too. His body's
Yeah.
way bigger than
Well,
it was
we had a
last
good
year.
bean crop this year.
He's huge.
Soybeans made a big difference. It does it every year.
Yeah.
He really, like antler wise, we knew he was big. But when Jordan walked up to him, and like he really I saw how big his body was. Like yeah, I didn't realize his antlers were as big as they were because I mean he weighed 250.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a big deer.
Yeah, that's a big deer.
Mm.
Two 250s this year
Yeah, that's big
and a
anywhere.
240.
Yeah.
I mean, all of our bucks have been 200 pounds or better.
Mm-hmm. You know, a 4-year-old deer over here is gonna weigh 210 at least
Yeah.
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 this year.
And then Jordan, I don't know, it was funny, man, because when that deer finally he was under the tree, and I'm filming him, and he's wide open for me, and Jordan's like, I got a limb. I'm like, you got a limb? He said, yeah, he's got to move. So he stood there, felt like forever. And he finally starts walking kind of the direction of the food plot, and he stops again, and again, he's in the wide open. I said, okay, kill him. He said, I can't. I'm like, what do you mean you
I
can't?
had a limb this big around all the way across his shoulder.
And
I'm
I'm
like thinking, you're shooting a gun, not a bow. What are you waiting on?
well, you know how, I mean, when it's a deer like that,
Well,
I mean,
I could see his shoulder in the crosshairs.
She wasn't sure the bullet was going to make it.
Exactly. It was about this much difference between if I hit that limb or hit him in the shoulder.
Yeah. Well, how bad would that be? You pull the trigger and he just looks up.
Yeah.
well, and it's like he's 60, 65 yards away, and we have a rifle. So you're like, I think we got him here. But in my mind, like in the moment, I'm like, he's gonna get away. You know, I mean, there's so many things that can happen. Wind could swirl because it's been less than a week ago when we were bow hunting and we saw that big 10 point. We thought we were gonna get him, and he gone.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was just on edge. Finally, you could see it in the GoPro angle. Jordan's sitting there like this, and he goes, like.
I turned the gun. I've never shot a deer with my gun. Was it horizontal?
Yeah.
Hey, X marks the spot as long as you got the X on it.
Yeah, it was like that across the shoulder instead of like this. It was like that.
You're lining him up.
Well-
Level. It's like shooting your bow.
And I have to say, and I don't blame him at all. I would have done the same thing, maybe worse.
Yeah, you find a way to make that happen.
Well,
I'm
I'm talking Jordan being the king. He's the most he's going to give you crap about anything that he possibly can. And so anything that
Crap is due or crap is due.
it is. I'm not saying it's not, but he gives me so much crap about how I get always just over the top excited when I shoot anything. Makes mocks it and all that stuff.
He mocks what you say more than what
Jordan,
you
before that that's the deer. What he came here for? He's sitting there shaking it.
do. Look like the Wicked Witch of the West.
I had to come apart, man.
He's sitting there. He go.
I was hyperventilating. Oh man, that's why we hunt though.
Yeah.
That's something.
It's a
I
different.
don't think I took a breath from the time we saw him until I shot him.
You were,
Yeah, I don't think I could get
Usually-
anything in my lungs.
Usually the adrenaline hits after you kill them.
that's
Yeah.
what happens
For me,
to
it
me.
does.
Yeah, I mean,
know-
as soon as it, yeah.
I know the adrenaline rush can happen as you see one come, but when one shows up like it did for y'all, you don't really have time to build that flow.
Yeah.
You start thinking through things, and no matter what you're thinking, as long as we've all been hunting, you mentally do everything through habit.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, when we're running cameras and hunting with cameras and stuff, to me, I don't think about, okay, let's try to kill the deer. I'm thinking about is Lake getting what he's needing and all that, so it's keeping my mind busy on the
Yeah.
production
And
of it.
that's the bottom line of having the relationship that we all have. I think y'all have heard me say this a million times. Is I've had people ask me, what does it take to be a good cameraman? And for me, I tell everybody this, from young guys, it takes the guy behind the camera to be able to tell the guy in front of the camera no.
Yeah,
On
absolutely.
any given time, no or yes. And to tell somebody no, especially on a deer like you were last night,
Which
It's
it's
tough.
hard.
see, and
But
I got lucky because when I first got on that deer, I mean, he had just, I was thinking footage wise, and we had history with that deer, and all I had was because he just kind of appeared under that acorn tree. We didn't see him walk up there because we were watching all the other deer. I was like, man, I don't have any pre-roll of this deer.
Mhm.
He's just standing there in that one spot, and so I was like, I want him to shoot him, but he's got to wait. But then he said, I can't shoot. I got a limb. I was like, oh, thank God.
But I was thinking at the same time, you know, for TV, we need a little bit more footage than a deer just showing up standing under an acorn tree.
Yeah. Which he did. I mean, he did kind of like make a scrape, but then he did all he needed to do.
Yeah.
Stand there
And
every time he moved his head. All
What
you
we
could
have
see
to
is
do to make the TV work versus if you or anybody else would have just been in that tree hunting that, they would have been standing there for 2.5 seconds and he'd have been dead.
Oh, yeah, I'd have found a way to get a shot at him if we wouldn't have been trying to video it.
Yeah.
And it ain't like you can be jopping around and moving around, stand up, move around, because you got all these other deer that you're worried about seeing you.
Yeah.
Especially the big red doe that's hanging out over there.
She's
She's there.
Reba too?
She was there yesterday afternoon.
We were scared to death from the get-go, yeah.
Yeah, that's the first deer we saw was her. And from 150 yards, looked like she looked at us for 10 minutes. And then she circled around downwind, and that was the time the wind switched out of the north, so she didn't smell us.
I'm talking.
Like you said, sometimes the Lord just blesses
You ever talk about just all the chips falling into place?
It's just God sitting there going,
Hey, let's check the camera. Hey, let's try this tree. Oh, there's an acorn tree falling there. That doe's going downwind. Hey, the wind switched. Oh, there's Rocker's son. Which, disclaimer, he's not Rocker's son. They're like the same age. He may be older.
Jimmy started calling him that. I don't know why. We called him Rocker's brother because they looked similar on that one side.
And they were buddies last year. They ran around a lot.
Yeah, and then Jimmy got it mixed up and started calling him son of Rocker.
And we were like, Jimmy, they're the same age. The one Rocker's son may be older than Rocker.
Yeah, he's an old deer.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's the biggest deer you've ever shot.
well,
isn't
for
it?
me, the neatest thing that I've noticed here in the past 3 years, you're not supposed to see a deer like that at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I shot
in
him
the South.
I shot him at 3:50, Troy, on December
I know.
the 6th.
I heard you when you shot. I'm like, my first thought was, dang, doe must have been blowing at him and he just popped her. I really did. I thought that, and then Brad texted you, and actually I got a text from a friend of ours that you text, and I got a text from him said Jordan just said he killed Rocker's son, which was Jeffrey. I got it from Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Because I had my phone sitting in my bag because I had to stand up yesterday afternoon. I just watching the text. I couldn't lean down and get it because there was a deer standing out in front of us.
Yeah.
I was like, dang. I said, maybe he's just kidding. I waited for another text and waited for another text. So anyway, keep telling your story.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was the biggest deer you ever shot, huh?
Yeah, by far. Biggest deer I've ever shot at in the South. I've shot at a couple in Illinois, you know, that bigger. But as far as the southern deer, biggest thing I've ever even seen.
Yeah. He's big.
Did you ever have the inkling in your mind that you wasn't going to hit him?
Yeah, because that limb was halfway through my scope. But once I got the gangster lean on him, I felt better about it.
Yeah.
Were you sitting down or standing up when you shot?
Sitting down. I couldn't. Ain't no way I could have stood up.
It really is one of those things. Because if you take all that out of the equation, you look at what happened, you're like, the chances of us killing this deer right now are very, very high. But it was just something about that deer. I was just so nervous he was going to get away, that something was going to happen that we weren't going to get him. But it worked out.
Yeah.
Trigger stick, you use it?
Mm-hmm.
Worked good?
Couldn't have shot him out of trigger stick.
Really?
Yeah, ain't no way I could have pulled that shot off.
He couldn't have done that lean without it.
Yeah, because you would have had nowhere to lean.
I actually had the crossbow trigger stick with a big fat yoke on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a kind of a lot bigger surface to
roll
turn
the gun around?
Yep. So
That's a good tip right there. I didn't think of that.
So it worked out great, man.
You can definitely, think about the application of that in the woods, because it's not an uncommon thing for you to have a limb in your way if you're going up a tree in the woods, and you're not. It's not like a stationary stand where you clear shooting lanes out.
Yeah,
that's a big factor in shooting a rifle in the woods too. Even bows. There's a lot of times you shoot a bow, you look through your peep sight, you don't see something, and wind up hitting a limb or something.
Well, you're shooting at a rifle and the scope's on, but at that distance, you got this much difference between your scope and your barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's going to be
it's going to be a difference.
Yeah.
And you got the rise in the bullet.
Yep. So,
So, was climbing down after you shot him difficult?
No. I was having to tear poison ivy back off the tree because it kept getting hung up in our cables. But other than that, no, I skimmed on down there fast.
He moved very fast, very quick. It was I was like,
I always said that should have been part of X Games. They used to have those guys, what it was, it was timber contest, logger contest, or lumber contest, and have a guy go up a tree in a tree stand.
He was moving in large intervals. Like, he took off, and then I went to say something to him. I was like, hey, Joe. Oh, he's on the ground. Well, it was a fun afternoon. Hey, when you take pictures with him, are you going to take pictures like this?
If somebody kills my cat.
Have you seen that, Troy? It's a thing. It's a thing now. Yeah.
People are taking pictures looking all mad.
It's a thing. I don't know what.
No, it's not. It's not that they looking mad. It's a macho thing.
I don't know what it is. You'll see him like Jordan made a meme about it. He's like, you killed the biggest deer you've ever killed, and the guy that's the picture they're going. You think someone just told him their puppy died?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that, but I'm not taking a picture like that. Y'all'd have to beat me to get the smile
I don't know
off
what
my
to do.
face.
It's not just at deer, ducks, turkeys. I hadn't seen anyone do it with an elk, but I mean they'll be holding up a string of ducks.
Yeah, that's the mean macho look.
Yeah,
I think you should try.
I just killed me a limited duck.
Ain't no way I could do it.
You should do it.
Y'all have to beat me with a 2x4 and make me not smile.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what started it either, but it's a thing.
Push that log over.
Stoke the fire.
Yeah.
Shh.
You letting it go out. That was your job.
Oh well, I'm sitting back, absorbing all the heat.
I can't believe we only got one log on the fire. We burnt
two.
8 of them. Lake got up early and got the fire going this morning.
I couldn't sleep, man.
It's a good fire day.
And we hadn't even, we're doing the kind of same thing last year with not hunting much in the mornings until this time of year, so I can't blame the sleep schedule, but I can't. I mean, like every morning this whole week, 5 a.m.
I get up by 7.
I know.
Well, 5 a.m. You're just getting ready for turkey season.
Maybe.
Sure.
Because I know every time I get up, Jordan goes, hey, be quiet. What'd y'all see in the secret bottle? Y'all had an eventful afternoon.
We did.
We
Well,
can't
when-
let Jordan's. I mean, Jordan
when-
did kill a big deer, but it can't overshadow it because y'all had a good hunt.
You know, you hung that stand there with Brad, and we've all hunted it in the past 2 years. And when Jordan shot, when you guys shot and got the text, it wasn't 45 minutes after we got the text, because there was a span of, I know y'all were busy shooting all the stuff you had to shot, so we didn't get any text. And then when we finally got the text about what deer it was, got that on the first text, but Brad and I both thought it was a joke.
Right.
This deer walks out, and it's this old 8-point, heavy,
Yeah.
good beams, good everything, just a heavy old deer. And Brad says, "What do you think?" I said, "Dude, that's an old deer. You got to kill that." And that's the second tag in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Well, Brad's in there after the deer you killed. That's we all were. I mean, that's, everybody wants to shoot the biggest deer on the place. And immediately, I'm filming the deer, and I'm looking at him and I'm going, "Yeah, it's a good deer." Well, the predicament that I got in was tough. The way the deer came in.
Right.
So I'm leaning out and I'm trying to do everything with one hand. Right now I got my elbow is so stiff, and I'm probably pulled a tendon in it because I'm hanging on to my rope. I'm standing on Brad's stand. I'm filming around a tree, and I'm trying to do everything with one hand. I look down and Brad's on his phone. I'm like, what is he doing?
Hey, I've been there before, man.
Well, I know, but and I'm thinking, okay, I know you got a lot of land deals going, and that's what you do now, but dude, there's a shooter buck standing out there. What are you doing on his phone? Finally, I lean out and I look down, and he texts you. He says, "Tell me for real if that's the deer you shot, because if you would have said, no, I just killed the doe, he wasn't going to shoot that deer." And I mean, it was a legitimate big
Oh, this is a
old
big deer.
8-point.
Yeah, it is a big
And I
deer.
could understand I'd eaten up your last tag.
I'd swap rolls with him in a heartbeat.
Oh, I'd have shot that deer in a minute.
I wouldn't ever sent the text. Hey, look at that
But
one.
anyway, before that, we did see some deer. We saw a couple of other deer come in, and that spot right there, which is it's probably one of, other than the trees that y'all were on, the only oak trees
Yeah.
truly in Arkansas.
Yeah, there's not many.
I mean,
Those
where
are
you
nut-alls.
were-
We were hunting water oaks, which are little bitty
Yeah.
acres. Y'all hunting them big acres.
Stripe it over.
And where y'all were, it's called Oak Tree Road.
Yeah.
Call it that. And then where we were, it's called the Nut-All Flat.
Yeah.
And it's those deer, it looks like hogs in there.
Yeah.
And they're coming to that stuff, and they got rings around the tree, kind of like that bucket where they went around eating those persimmons. But
Yeah.
It's so beat down, looks like cattle were crossing through there. Because when me and Brad went in there and hung it, we went, oh, goodness, let's get a stand-up.
and when he got that text from you, he says, I'm kill that deer. Jordan says, for real, he shot Rocker's son. And I looked at him, I went, really? You wasn't going to shoot that deer? But it worked out good. I mean, 2 big mature deer on the same afternoon, on a Thursday afternoon, because today we know we wasn't gonna be able to hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we just
rain.
got
Raining
lucky
outside.
and ended it off yesterday on 2 big deer. But what's sad about it is every time Jimmy leaves, we kill deer.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I don't
It's a common
understand that
factor.
part.
The funniest thing that happened yesterday is when we were we were checking those trail cameras, and Jordan saw that deer in Oak Tree Road. Brad saw it, and he had hunted in Secret Bottom yesterday, trying to hunt that deer. He said, "How am I gonna kill him here if he's over there?"
You get the climbers out.
I guess. It
Well,
was funny.
it's fun when you know them and you
Yeah.
know what deer they are.
Yeah.
It's also fun when you don't know them.
The thing I like about it the most is the deer like that walks out. You ain't got to look at him and figure out if he's old enough, figure out
Yeah.
how many points he's got.
Yeah.
You just say, there he is. Okay, we can kill him.
It's definitely a different sensation.
Yeah.
Like it's both are exciting, but it's different when you
Mhm.
know them, and if we hadn't known that deer, and we went, oh gosh, big deer, you know,
Yeah.
it'd been like you said, it'd been a completely different process.
But you take the rack completely out of the equation on that deer
Mhm.
and just look at his body.
Still wouldn't
And
hesitate.
no, it's like the one I shot the other day with Toby. I mean, 250 pounds, and I didn't know what he was. I seen him walking through the woods. I thought he was
Big.
just a little old 115, 118-inch deer, 120-inch deer. And when he stepped out in the field, I was like, holy smokes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's standing next to a yearling in some of the footage, and it's crazy. It looks like Ferdinand the Bull standing next
Yeah.
to some whatever. I mean, it's just incredible.
It's the same.
At the
When you
body
pulled
weight.
up with him to the skinning shed, everyone was like, oh.
I didn't know. I really thought I was going to have to call one of y'all. Not that Toby's not strong. You know, he's young and in good shape, but my back's all tore up, and I'm like, I don't know where we're going to get that deer in this
Toby
buggy.
weighs about $120.
We had to find a hole to pull in
Little
yesterday
fella.
so the ranger went
Was it a
down.
little bit lower? It's always fun loading up them big ones, though.
Mm-hmm.
And look, it took like
It was all me and Lake could do to get him in the back of the
Mm-hmm.
buggy. He kept
Yeah.
on trying to slide out.
he enjoyed. So pull him up on this side, go on the other side, pull his legs around.
And trying to hold, unless, you know, a deer that heavy, when you grabbing their legs, it's like grabbing onto cellophane.
Yeah.
It's just slick.
Yeah.
It's slick.
I pulled too hard one time. As G2 caught me in the thigh right there. I sustained injuries from Jordan's deer.
So, under the circumstances yesterday, and knowing what the wind was, knowing you had pictures of that deer, having a pretty good idea of where he may have came from. You know, a lot of those deer come from the northeast,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
coming in there. Some, very few, come down the road anymore like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all had a straight south wind, or had a little west in
A
it?
little east in it.
Yeah.
Did it really?
Yeah.
A little bit.
So the chances are, if you think about where y'all climbed up to where he had to be bedded, that wind had to be going behind him.
Yeah.
You also had Josinas going, but that wind had to be going behind him. So in my thinking, if you look at where y'all hunted, y'all made a grave decision and a smart decision to get where y'all were. I mean, in all honesty, the deer was downwind of y'all. You think
yeah,
about it.
Some look
Yeah.
close to it.
But y'all beat him.
Mhm.
Y'all took a chance and beat him, not knowing exactly where he was.
Oh,
but
if that
knowing where
wind, if the wind would have came out of the dead east at any, it'd have been over.
Yeah, he was smelled.
Yeah.
It had enough south in it.
But none of the deer smelled you, which is a good thing. And you and I both know how many times you see 15, 20 does come out of that one trail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like we were talking about, when you
Took a
have
chance.
that
That's
many
good.
deer, your chances of getting. I mean, obviously, you know that your chances of spooking something just go higher because there's more
Sure.
more ears, there's more noses, there's more eyes. But
Well, I mean, like a deer like that, we've had him on camera like 3 times this year and only once in the daylight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, when he's in a spot like that, you got to go
Yeah.
try it.
if you think about it, it's the same way we killed Mufasa. It was straight up nighttime, and then one
There's
time
day,
there he was, and it was late, but it was daylight, and we said, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That afternoon,
there's this
And
one.
you know what? Think about. I wonder if that deer that you killed yesterday would have ever made it all the way out to the Arkansas field before dark.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Because that deer is he's moved over a mile, or close to a mile since
Yeah.
we started getting him on camera this year.
Yeah, he was at Chances, wasn't he?
The first pictures of him were at Buckshot 3,
yeah.
Oh,
which
really?
is half a mile, 3/4 mile from where we
You had
killed
any
him.
summer pictures of him
None.
at that?
We had him
mineral
in
site?
Chances last year in the
Yeah.
summer, but nothing this year. We couldn't.
He-
First picture of him was in November.
He kind of stayed not as tight as Rocker's area, but he stayed over on that side. He's never been known to come as far as he did yesterday.
You know, if you look at the map, the aerial of where we're hunting, and you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 of the biggest deer we've killed on this place all came from right there.
Yeah, within a 2-mile stretch.
In that circle.
Not even 2 miles, within a mile.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And all of them having their little quirks of, I live in this 200 yards, I live in this 200 yards, I live in this 200 yard area. How do you tell somebody here's what to look for? Because if you really look at where we're hunting, it's flat as a pancake.
Yeah.
Other than it's a little bit thicker there, but if you look at it, it looks the same to the north, to the south, to the east, to the west. They're all right there.
The most defined area we look for is just privet edges.
Yeah.
You know, any kind of edge, thicket edge, you know, anything you look for, cut over edge, going into hardwood, SMZ, whatever like that. That's your edge. That's where your buck's going to travel.
Yeah. But what makes them hold those bigger deer, I don't know.
Yeah. I just
what it is about that area like you're talking about?
Just old deer.
I don't know.
I mean, me personally, I think it's because them beans are so close during the summertime, those deer get everything they want. Because, I mean, any deer in Arkansas doesn't have to go but 400 yards and have a mouthful of beans.
Well, I did notice on some trail cam pictures the other day, that 8-point that I shot at Bucket, we got pictures of him at Close Road.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's right. I thought that was a 9-point at Close Road.
No, it's the same deer because he's got that kicker coming off your main beam.
I got you. That's a long way.
I mean, when was the picture?
Like in October.
Yeah.
That's
He
believable.
started showing up in Bucket in October, too, though.
That's believable. Yeah.
It's not that far.
No.
If you do a straight line.
No.
And for us, the places that we would never walk into because we couldn't go through it, they go through it like hot butter.
And he had the body size of a deer that had been eating a lot of beans.
Yeah.
He was big.
Yeah, he was large.
You know, and right now, if you think about it on the place, the only deer that we've got that we know has traveled is that big wide 8-point with a layback too.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him now in
2 or 3
10
weeks.
days.
Yeah. That is true. That we know of. The vast majority of our bucks hold pretty tight to where into their home range, or have a tight home range.
I wonder if it's got to. I mean, you know, over the years we've hunted all over the country, but we haven't had a chance to hunt places all over the country that we can call home, that we consistently hunt year in and year out, knowing home places and not home places.
Hang on.
That's got to be the same everywhere else you go. If you think about the Midwest with small woodlots and places where deer are born, how many of them truly leave that area versus how many of them just stay in that square mile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Majority of them stay, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it here, the river. We've talked about this before. When the river comes up and floods, all these deer leave. They get pushed out of their home ground. When the water goes down, they come back to the very same spot.
It's the craziest thing to me. It happened to Rocker 2 or 3 times since we were hunting him, and he's all in the same spot.
And you know he leaves. He's got to leave out of there because where he's at,
He'd be
it's
drowned.
15 foot of water.
Yeah, he'd drown if he didn't leave.
Unless he hangs up in trees and stays there.
Yeah, that's he was a tree
Turns into a
climber.
squirrel.
Could have been. It might have been why it took us so long to get him.
Well, what we gonna do next week? Bragg's tagged out in Arkansas. We gonna make him run a camera?
He said he could still do it.
Well, we're going to see.
We're gonna see.
We need to let him go film Wilbur.
Jimmy's got a tag. Wilbur's got 2 tags. Lake's got a tag. Brad's got no, and you got tags. So
We all each have 1 tag left.
yeah.
In Arkansas.
Wilbur has 2 tags left. Did Jimmy have? Yeah.
Jimmy's got 1.
So the Wilbur's the only one that's got all 2 left.
So Brad's gonna have to run a camera with somebody.
He said he would.
We'll
Knock
see.
the dust off those skills, man.
We'll see. This should be an interesting week.
The thing is, it's about to get, especially after what we saw yesterday. It's about to be a fun time of year for deer.
That 15th, we waiting for that 15th, the magic day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I want some ducks, man.
It's coming. I think this next front may bring a few down. I'm ready to do a little duck hunting in the morning.
Yeah.
Especially if it's cold.
Believe
I'm
me.
not excited to put my waders on when it's 72 degrees.
No.
I don't want to do that.
No. Believe me, I love deer hunting, but when that cold weather starts hitting and I start seeing those sap heads, green heads flying around, that's just
It's fun. Well, y'all more excited too about it this year too. I mean, still love duck hunting, but y'all got new dogs. Well,
Yeah.
you got a new dog.
yeah. It's Delta's second year.
Yeah.
And according to Lake, he's the best thing ever since sliced bread.
He is.
Knox.
He's the best.
Well, yeah, you're gonna say that about your daughter when she's born.
He's the best
He's
ever
the
was.
best kid ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until she's about 14, then you're gonna want to wring her neck.
Smack her.
He's the best duck dog I've ever owned.
All right.
Oh, well, like it turned from a slow week to a really good week really quick. But I think we have a lot to look forward to next week.
And, Brad made the comment yesterday when we got in the tree. He says, it's a yucky afternoon.
It
And
was.
it was yucky. It was humid. You knew the rain was coming. It wasn't hot, but it wasn't cold. But I think had the sun been out, it would have been pretty warm yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But the deer moved. They moved great,
Did.
evidently.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference was, but they moved.
It happened.
The difference was we was in the woods.
I guess so. Guess so. Well,
Y'all
let's-
have anything else to add?
No,
I'm hungry.
finna go home.
Why?
Breakfast
Go see
time.
my wife.
You can't go home.
You gotta go hang
We
stand.
got to go hang stands and clean deer.
We've got stuff to do.
Oh no,
Oh, yeah.
I do that Monday.
Yeah.
We
We
got
got,
Monday.
So, guys, thank y'all for listening. Always send in your questions, Instagram, Facebook, however y'all need to do it. We're going to get out of here because Jordan's chomping at the bit. And, yeah, that's it. You want to sit here for 10 more minutes?
Fix the fire, dog.
Fix
Look
the
at
fire.
that.
You
It's
let it go
pitiful.
down. This was your job. Thank y'all for listening to Speak the Language. Thank y'all for listening to the Speak the Language podcast.
You can't.
You cannot.